And if I could, Madam Chair, just to point out, this has been somewhat of a hot topic area. Just wanted to hand this out. I took the opportunity to put together an outline of the lease agreement for capital replacement of our 8 police cruisers in town.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, no. I know. Sorry. I just asked you to take a look at it. I've included several. Sorry, Steve, your time. No. Yep. Several documents that we talked about individually, but I just wanted to let the listening audience know, give you kind of a highlight of the plan, if you will. I believe strongly that the Capital Planning Committee, I've been working with Alan and Dave Trudell on how we can get in one place all of our capital needs. And if you take the middle school rehab program through the Mass School Building Assistance Authority, if we do qualify, we're way out. So I would say to you that one of the strategies that I would like to employ, have your advice and counsel on, is the use of grants and the grant writing abilities of department heads in finding resources. Mr. Slavin mentioned one earlier with regards to green technology, $7 million, not short money. In this particular case, our police chief and his team went out and found a justice assistance grant, and they found a way to loosen up $55,000 from the federal government as a down payment for 8 police cruisers to bring our fleet up to, I would say, at least bottom standard. Thank you. At least the basic standard, because sometime in late December I did tour, as many of the board have already, the police department, the police vehicles, the police equipment. The facility itself needs a tremendous amount of attention. And that being said, and full well knowing that we do need to move forward to town meeting to ask for capital funding, working through the Capital Planning Committee and the Finance Committee. It's my intention to bring that forward as it is on the warrant for discussion. But full well knowing that if we can get a running start, if there's a way to get some additional resources from the federal, state government, some partnership to find ways to free up that list. Alan came into my office, we needed a dust broom to dust it off. That's how old it is. And it's been kicking around for quite some time. My goal is to move on those items, to get as many of those projects on the drawing board, to get the design and development going, to make some meaningful progress on capital. So I wanted to engage this conversation tonight to let you know, kind of in a summary form, what has transpired. I've also worked very closely with a number of the board members here and the support systems that we have in the office and through the Finance Committee and the Capital Planning Committee, as I've mentioned. So I just put it in one place. I just wanted you to have it. There's additional. There's a folder if you want to look through it. More than welcome to. Happy to go over with you any time. And there's an advisory opinion from Attorney Bowen. This does back up what I stated, which is my intent was to get a down payment, get moving on getting that fleet up and running. If you look at the graveyard behind the police station, you'll find a number of vehicles that are just worn out. They're just not in the operational mode for public safety and working to protect the citizens of the town of Wareham. So with that being said, I'll answer any questions you might have. I try to once again put it into some capsule form. If you want me to expound upon anything, I'm happy to try to do that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Andrews? Ms. Winslow?
Yes, I agree that the cruisers were definitely necessary, but my concerns lie with the overall process of the procurement. And I understand from what you put in the packet, the broad authority that town meeting gave you to enter into contracts, et cetera, et cetera. But my concern lies with the fact that the cruisers were purchased on like a collaborative bid, and we're supposed to be part of that process prior to the bid going out. And I tried to look back, you know, around that time and see if there was any discussion or anything in the news about, you know, becoming part of that, and I couldn't find anything. I may have missed it, but Also, the Inspector General's office had issued an advisory about the company that we purchased these through about purchasing off-contract items. And I'm still not understanding what off-contract items may have been part of this this whole process. But the biggest concern that I have is that when I did the math, it seemed to me that from the information that I could gather from Google, that the lease agreement that we signed may have actually been more expensive, and I don't understand why the lease would have been more expensive than outright purchasing the vehicles, and I'm hoping you can help me understand that, because obviously we want to spend, our money as frugally as possible.
Sure thing, Madam Chair, if I might.
Certainly.
The first point is that these are not purchases. These are leased vehicles. If you, as I have, walk through the municipal maintenance garage, you'd be hard-pressed to find the municipal maintenance worker to work on vehicles. That's how far we've cut back our services. And fleet management, fleet maintenance today is you have to be up to certification in order to take care of the vehicles. So we leased the program. And the program includes, and this is one of the other points, I just want to make this, it's kind of an illustration. If you put the new vehicle on your left-hand side and look through the window, and you put the old vehicle on your right-hand side and look through the window, and Officer Kevin Wayland had me do that, and I looked through and I saw kind of a mishmash. Hard to find, pull out the radio. The computer was kind of leaning towards, a cup of Dunkin' Donuts coffee, and on the other side of the seat there was some materials and stuff that looked like you had to read them and pay attention to them. Probably not the best police fighting business equipment that I could point at. If you look to the left-hand side with the new vehicles, what I saw was a complete set. The vehicle was retrofitted to meet the needs of what the specifications we asked for by the state bid. I want to point that out. By the state certified bid. So whether it was the town of Wareham, the town of Lexington, or the town of Methuen, looking at this leasing arrangement, it was the same exact price. In fact, we even negotiated below what was on the bid in terms of the overall interest on the project. The interest that was certified to the state was 5% on the project, and I worked to get it down to 4.5%.
So let me just clarify, this wasn't part of a collaborative bid. This was purchased off the state bid list.
We belong to that collaborative, but they drill up into the, Ellen Bickelman, who's the state purchasing agent, puts all of this stuff out for all of the state offices and provides that bid listing, if you will, that certified bid listing to cities and towns through the collaborative. And in this particular case, we use a state certified bid listing. But as we were doing our research, we do belong to and are a dues-paying member of the collaborative.
If I could, Mr. Andrews and Ms. Winslow, the other thing I'd just like to point out is that just about everybody knows that purchasing the vehicles outright certainly not an option under our fiscal situation, so that it's really not a fair comparison to be looking at purchase versus lease. Almost nobody is purchasing vehicles anymore. People are going to the lease program for the very reasons that Mr. Andrews said. So in terms of being able to maintain a fleet of vehicles, we don't have the capability to do that anymore. So of course there's an interest cost associated with leasing. There's also an interest cost associated with purchasing if you don't have the money up front, which we would have had to borrow the money for this and pay probably a much higher interest rate, or if not comparable, at least comparable, if not higher, to borrow the money if we were going to go out and buy 8 vehicles outright, and then you'd have your maintenance costs on top of that. So I think you have to do more than just the basic math to get to where we are. I think that we got, under the circumstances of the financial parameters that the town is working within, that Mr. Andrews and Chief Stanley went out and sought a grant. They were able to buy down the interest rate and get the best deal they could for the town. I mean, public health and safety are very important, and to have our police force riding around in cruisers that are literally falling apart. And if you had been out back of the town barn, the town police station, before they took these cruisers away, you would have seen that they were all in pretty rough shape. I attended a capital planning committee meeting where Mr. Trudell had a list of the vehicles and the mileage on them and what had been replaced and what needed to be replaced